Hey everyone, I'm Nate Fisher.
And I'm Dennis Stack.
And this is a random ass movie review quickie.
Random ass movie reviews with Dennis and Nate.
Recently, Dennis and I were just sort of hanging out, talking about movies, and our camera operator, Anne, has never seen Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So we just started bantering a little bit and realized that we think differently on this film quite a bit. And so we both decided to rewatch the movie.
So we basically dared each other to watch this one again, and this movie is still, to this day at least, the biggest disappointing cinematic experience of my life. Like, I was so stoked going into this movie of my life.
Okay.
Like, X-Men 3 was real close. That's because there's some jerk in the back who wouldn't shut up throughout the whole movie.
Okay.
That had just added to the terrible movie anyway.
Sure.
But I was so looking forward to this movie because Spielberg and Lucas were behind it. Like, this movie would be fine if, like, you know, like, Michael Bay directed it, or it'd probably be his best movie. Or if, you know, some hot Hollywood of the time director had done this and it was just kind of like shoved off and pushed out there. But because it was Spielberg and Lucas, you had this high expectation, and it just fell flat on all notes. And this literally was a rewatch for me. It's the first time I saw it since walking out of the theater that day.
Oh, so it's been a while since you've seen it.
Right, yeah. It's been 7 years since I've seen this movie.
All right.
And I honestly got to say, it was worse than I expected it.
Wow.
Or remember it, I'm sorry.
As a whole.
As a whole. Like, it's just, like, the first time I walked out of there, and I was like, man, that was bad. And the friends I went to see it with, they're like, oh, it was okay, it was good enough. I'm like, no, guys, that was bad. That was just poorly executed. And then this time, knowing going into it that I didn't like the movie, I could really, like, analyze and figure out what was wrong with this movie. And it just felt like it was lazy.
I get you with that. I think that you're right. The laziness halfway, you're right. I liked the first half way better than the second half. I feel like the laziness kicks in halfway through the film. Really, I think that they opened it fine, and the one I was reading a lot about it, and this is the only Indiana Jones movie in the series where it doesn't open up with a mission that's separate from the actual plot of the film. The film jumps in,
Right.
which it keeps with this plot straight off the bat. You know, the opening scene matters within the context of the plot, but I felt like it's fun and it is entertaining. It's fun to see Harrison Ford with the hat and the thing and the whip, and he's old. He looks pretty old.
No, They remind you that he's old throughout the movie.
Which is also a good way to go about it, with just like keeping his age in context. Everyone realizes that he's pretty old. But I don't think it was as, maybe it's because I've always loved the Indiana Jones movies, but they weren't like my favorite trilogy of all time. There wasn't this hype for me that there was for some.
All right, yeah, I mean, I can't say it's my favorite trilogy. I mean, I think Star Wars would take the cake on that one.
Sure.
But it's up there. I mean, it's up there with, like, Back to the Future.
Yeah.
And Dark Knight trilogy, movies like that, where it's just, love those movies so much. But I will say, the silver lining, the positive of this movie, is it made me appreciate Temple of Doom a lot more. Like, before I was kind of sour on Temple of Doom, like, when I'd watch all of them, like, let's just skip the middle one and watch 1 and 3. But then after this one, I'm like, Temple of Doom is actually really good. And that one warrants a second view. If you didn't like it the first time around, give Temple of Doom another try.
Well, Temple of Doom was the first one I saw out of the series.
Okay.
So Temple of Doom, especially as a kid, it was this like weird, almost like scary but bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, Roger Ebert in the review for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, he gave it 3 out of 4. And he said, when it comes to Indiana Jones movies, it is really, your favorite one probably is which one you saw first. There might be a generation that sees Crystal Skull first and likes it the most out of them.
Those poor kids.
I know it's a bold statement, but you never know. Like, so, I agree with you to a certain extent, but I still think that I can watch this movie from start to finish and still be like, that was fun. It's colorful.
I kind of feel like you get it's just like a little over sentimental. Like, there's flashes of the old trilogy in there. Like, the scene, the chase on the motorcycle where, like, they're going through the library. Like, I really like that part.
Yeah,
there's sequences that are good. But then it's just like, like I said, it's just the team that's behind this. You expect so much quality overall. Like, the CGI in this movie is really bad.
It's not good special
It's
effects.
really bad, especially for something that came out just 7 years ago.
Yeah, and I'll say that there's times where it seemed like the filmmakers were just saying, you know what, that'll do.
Yeah, I feel this kind of falls in the same line with Lucas and the prequel trilogy, and more recently Peter Jackson and the Hobbit trilogy, where it's just like usually the people who work at the studio making the decisions on what to take in and out of the story. They're just like, it's Spielberg and it's Indiana Jones. Who am I to tell him anything? Let him do his own thing. When maybe he should have been checked.
Right.
Maybe Lucas should have been checked on those trilogies, and maybe Jackson should have been checked on The Hobbit.
But there is one thing where people hated the aliens from a different dimension. Aliens from a different dimension, come on.
I'm one of those people.
Dude, look at the other movies. Like, the fucking Ark, just like melting faces, that's not real. Ripping hearts out of bodies while they're still alive, that's not real. You can go fantasy for it if you want.
But the alien also ties into the terrible CGI.
It's true.
It's like, sweet, I'm playing a Sega Genesis game right now.
It's not 8-bit.
No, it was 16-bit. Genesis is 16. Let's clear that up.
It's not 16-bit either. So, why don't you give your rating?
Well, the first time I saw this, and walked out of the theater and went home and rated it on IMDb, I gave it a 5 out of 10. But upon this rewatch, I gotta drop it down to a 3. 3 out of 10 old men, as in Spielberg, Lucas, and Ford.
All right. Well, I enjoy this film. I recommend it to a certain extent, maybe to a younger crowd, 10 and under. But I give it 6 out of 10 Shia LaBeoufs.
Wow. 6. Alright guys, so thanks for joining us for that quick little rewatch review. As you said, later this week we're going to give you our full review for Krampus and our top 3 worst holiday season movies. See you next time, guys.
See ya.
Random ass movie reviews with Dennis and Nate.